drives up here, backs up here, and right there you got a dead curve.
Herb Lindelof has lived on County Road A in the town of Superior for more than 40 years. As more people build homes out here, Herb sees a lot more traffic on the road. His area of County A has some tricky bends and turns.
There's been more accidents there than any place in Douglas County on those 4 curves.
This summer, there were 3 serious crashes on the curvy stretch, enough to cause Herb some concern. Now he wants to do something about it, and it appears his neighbors agree. There are 20 pages of signatures on a petition trying to get the curves taken out of the road.
They're saying they're tired of not getting a decent road to drive on.
What Herb Lindelof and 450 other residents from this area are proposing is to have this road, County A, go straight through that woods and avoid the dangerous curves. 3 crashes here have claimed lives, and more than 30 have been injured. There's still chunks of glass from one recent mishap, but the Sheriff's Department records show some crashes have involved alcohol and could have happened just about anywhere. What concerns Herb most, he says, is the lack of shoulder along the pavement. If an oncoming car crosses the center line around a blind curve, there's very little room to get out of the way. These semi-tracks in the ditch tell the story.
6 months of the year it's snow and ice, and when they hit the brakes, away they go.
Right now, there are no plans in the works to remove the curves, but Herb Lindelof hopes county officials will take notice of the petition and do something before a bus stop becomes the next accident scene. In the town of Superior, Jason Rice, News 6.
It's been great, actually. I really like it here. It's probably one of the best jobs I've had.
Carl Prevost and his family spent the night celebrating with his coworkers. Cake, gifts, and words of appreciation were some of the ways managers said thanks for 10 years of growth and success.
Really nice company. They treat their employees right, pay pretty well, and good benefits, great benefits actually.
The center initially opened their doors back in 1989 here at Duluth Waterfront Plaza. At that time, only 24 people were employed. Now there's more than 600 employees.
I never thought it would get this huge. You know, I thought maybe 200 some employees, nothing like this. No, I don't think they were nervous at all, because I think that the differences in the job types were much different, but
I don't think they realized how many people there were just a block away. So, and I think we keep most of the restaurants in business in West Duluth. We continue to get very well-educated individuals. The fact that we have so many colleges in the area really contribute to the quality of the people that we can attract.
And you're pretty comfortable that you're going to be here a while and not have to worry about jobs in the future.
That must be a tremendous stress off of.
Absolutely.
And now, for the West Duluth area.
I grew up in South Dakota. I grew up in the town of Yankton. We were always pleased to consider the Twin Cities as a kind of a suburb of Yankton.
It's been a long journey from Yankton, South Dakota, where Tom Brokaw grew up. And those images of life on the plains had a huge impact on him. He credits his parents and those from that generation for building America. He says he saw a need to tell their stories of struggle and survival during World War II.
I think it's stronger because it had been steeled in so many ways. You know, families could barely afford to put food on the table in the 30s, and clothing really was a lot of hand-me-downs in most families. A lot of the men who went into the service said it was the first time they ever had a new pair of boots was when they joined the Army or the Navy. And then they went through the war.
The response from his book has been so overwhelming, Brokaw has decided to write a follow-up. The second book is called The Greatest Generation Speaks. It should be released in December.
The chapters are divided up, loss, people who lost family members, war stories, stories that are just mind-boggling in terms of the adventure and the daring and the torment that a lot of people went through.
Brokaw was the first to interview Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura live on NBC on election night.
I wanted to know whether we call you Governor Ventura or Governor the Body.
He says Ventura has changed the makeup of politics in more ways than one.
What he did was he broke the mold of politics at a time when a lot of people seemed to be interested in having it broken. And what I've always been, as a journalist, impressed with the governor is his ability to be pretty candid with not only the people of Minnesota but also with other reporters.
The Jesse Ventura interview on election night was not the first time Brokaw has experienced Minnesota. His time in the state goes way back.
I was a Boy Scout counselor when I was a kid, and I've been canoeing up in the north. And my children we used to send out from New York in the summertime to Brainerd to camp. So when the movie Fargo came out, they were very familiar with the area.
People are taking a long, hard look before they buy dairy products these days. Like many staples of our diets, prices have been steadily climbing. Today, a warning from dairy industry experts: the price of milk will jump more than 10% next week.
This is the single largest one-month price increase that we've ever seen. Our costs have increased almost 50 cents a gallon.
So why such a drastic increase now? For starters, an increase in cheese consumption. About 75% of all milk produced in the Midwest is used to make cheese products, leaving less milk to package for drinking. Doug Britton works with many people already having problems making ends meet. He says price hikes on necessary items cause harsh choices for the family.
In this instance, increasing the milk prices of an important health food is going to reduce consumption of milk, I would think, amongst the low-income population, amongst low-income children. I think that's very unfortunate.
Yes, I believe that shopping patterns will change on this drastic of a price increase.
Today, independent dairy farmers are being replaced by large corporate farms, and milk companies are charging more than ever for their products. That leaves consumers and retailers wondering just where this price increase is going. In Duluth, Jason Rice, News 6.
Dwayne Paulson still can't believe what he sees when he walks down into his basement these days, after backed up city sewers flooded it in July.
This is where all the water came in. This is the sewer back up here.
The water couldn't drain fast enough during the storm, causing a disgusting mess.
Oh, it smelled terrible. There was black things floating everywhere, like sewage, toilet paper or something it could have been. I didn't pick it up.
But now he's the one picking up the tab to make his basement a cozy place for his family again. He lost all of the carpeting.
Got to cut it all up into pieces and drag it upstairs and take it to the dump.
And he's about to toss some of his furniture that still shows the stains from how high the water and sewage rose.
Sewage basically contaminates anything that it gets on, so we basically threw out a whole bunch of toys, like 30 pair of shoes, rollerblades, boots, all kinds of stuff.
He estimates that it caused $5,000 of damage and hours of cleanup work, especially in his son's room, which he had just finished redecorating a few months ago.
It was a shame, you know. all the work that we put into it, my wife and I. And
Polson says the city owns the sewers and should help homeowners now.
well, first I think they should do something with the sewer system so it doesn't happen again. And second off, I think they should hand over some money for all the stuff that we lost.
But the city has denied homeowners' damage claims, saying that the heavy rain and flooding that affected homes in South Superior simply couldn't be prevented. In Superior, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
Three, two, one. We have ignition and we have liftoff of NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter as we can.
We looked in the book and it had like almost a menu that everything that I was supposed to eat, and we measured to the exact and everything.
So I wanted to ask the kids a little bit about how they learned to manage, and we talked about caregivers and so on. If you do something, you got to be able to. But how do you know the information's right on there? I mean, isn't it better to kind of listen to what your caregivers say?
Yeah, what I mean by the internet, I like look at different websites like Desatronic and Leeman and different places like.
My father died of a heart attack, and my mother's had a heart attack. I've had a heart attack, and I had triple bypass surgery 4 years ago. And since that time, I walked over 5,000 miles.
Jesse, the body Ventura, is used to fighting back. Now in a different ring, the political ring, and he's on the defensive.
It's so simple to be politically correct. It's so simple to give the right answer. But I hope they'll at least respect me for being honest, an honest person.
On NBC's Meet the Press, Ventura defended his interview with Playboy magazine, where, among other things, he called organized religion a sham and a crutch for weak-minded people. On Sunday, church-going people from St. Louis to Minneapolis wrote letters and spoke out against Ventura.
I would like to give him a piece of my weak mind, if I could.
The head of Ventura's Reform Party has called for his resignation, but Ventura downplayed their importance.
They did virtually nothing to help me win the election.
Despite his problems with the Reform Party and despite comments to Playboy magazine, Ventura says he has no plans to run for president at this time. But he also said stranger things have happened. Ventura's firestorm may help fuel Pat Buchanan's chances with the Reform Party, something Ventura does not support.
Pat Buchanan is not a member of the Reform Party. He's Johnny-come-lately to the party.
Ventura, who admits believing in God, says he didn't intend to offend women, overweight people, or churchgoers. And he says he's not going to stop speaking his mind. Jennifer Johnson, NBC News, Washington.
accompanied by a 6-minute video.
My big plan is life is good, no matter where you live in Minnesota.
Well-designed packages and mushy slogans, Governor Ventura's big plan was long on presentation.
This is a time to focus on what is necessary, not what's just nice.
But short on details.
Well, this is the big plan. We're just missing the pieces. We just know what the color of the car is. We don't know what's under the hood.
Full of broad initiatives, the first part of the big plan calls for excellence in schools, focus on technology, and something called smart growth, a concept upon which Ventura says he'll judge all capital spending requests.
The day of the state being there to do every feel-good bonding thing is come to an end.
Missing in the speech, any details on help for struggling farmers.
Plan in agriculture? There's no plan in agriculture in this administration.
The governor's speech comes as he tries to move away from the controversy generated by his comments to Playboy.
That interview has nothing to do with how I govern, nothing whatsoever.
But when I asked the governor if public opinion, which has grown more negative, does impact how he governs, Ventura said this.
Well, if I went on public opinion, I wouldn't even be here as governor, would I? Because public opinion said I couldn't win.
And they said, we got your book, but I think maybe at some of these festivals.
How do you know who did it?
I like the cranberry bread. It's very good. It's easy to freeze. It's nice to give gifts at Christmas time. It's very colorful, and people seem to enjoy it a lot.
Of his third try for president, Pat Buchanan says he's considering becoming a third-party candidate by seeking the Reform Party nomination. We are dead serious. The possibility of Buchanan leaving the Republican Party for the Reform Party has created political tremor. He'll announce his decision in a month, but with his anti-gay and anti-abortion views, coupled with his anti-free trade stance, he says he would be a clear alternative.
The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are locked on the same course in foreign policy, trade policy, and if I go reform, it is to offer America a real choice, and not the phony choice.
At the White House, Jane Wattrell, NBC News.
This is a basic right all Americans share, rich or poor, regardless of the seriousness of the charges against them. Through our system of public defense, we will continue to work hard and work ethically and work independently to support the rights of all our clients.
Just let's not try it. Not back.
As the candles flicker, cobwebs drip from gnarled branches, and bright eyes peer out of the darkness, you don't hear any screams of terror, at least not yet. Instead, it's the buzz of last-minute preparations for this year's haunted tour aboard the William A. Irvin.
What colors are you looking at for down here?
Brian Lukasavitz is in charge of the extra scary effects. He graduated from the UMD theater department and then learned a few more tricks of the trade at Universal Studios in Florida.
In Florida, bigger is always better, and so we're going for a much bigger production than they've had.
It's the first big project for the new local production company started by Lukasavitz and Amy Patras, also a UMD grad.
The boat became a lot bigger all of a sudden when we actually got into it.
She picked up a few tips for gore from an expert, her sister, who's a mortician. She says imaginations ran wild to create all of the eerie effects, like these spooky trees.
They're made out of cloth, shirts and pants, and we literally took the shirts right off the backs of our crew.
And the dark, narrow passageways.
This is part of the creation of the Dracula's castle, so just going with that gothic feel. I think that intimidates a lot of people.
And don't forget a crew of creepy creatures.
We have our thick blood, which actually looks very realistic.
To add up to a terrifying trek.
Just expect anything. Be prepared for everything. So who knows what's going to happen.
In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
I think with each successive year, this is becoming more and more a volunteer effort on the part of youth in the community to give to the community, and especially the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and all the church youth groups that are involved in this effort. I think this is one of the more significant pieces of this event. It's a chance for youth to get involved.
Volunteer who would give people what would be a 5-day food supply that they can walk out with.
My son and daughter really loved those kids too, and everybody did. They had the most contagious smile you'd ever want to see. Those are the things I'm going to always keep with me about the whole family.
Judge Dale Wolf and his family were close friends with the Jarvises. When 4 members of the family were killed in a car crash, he took it very hard.
Yeah, the memories, I guess I want to keep those wonderful memories.
Judge Wolf lives in Carleton County and feels a strong sense of neighborhood. Friends say he has always taken his responsibility to community very seriously. It is that strong commitment that has gotten him in trouble before and may be contributing to his current health problems. 2 years ago, Judge Wolf was reprimanded by the Minnesota Board on Judicial Standards for a letter to the editor he submitted while serving as judge on the Paul Antonich case. He wrote, "I believe that as important community leaders, judges sometimes have an obligation to speak out strongly about the phenomenon of prejudice and try to reduce racism." Judge Wolf also has strong feelings on morality and has spoken out sharply in opposition to the Centerfold Strip Club. In the Blom murder case, Judge Wolf repeatedly said he was just trying to do what was ethically right. He said his intent has been to protect the rights and interests of the defendant. But there are clear indications in a memorandum released by Judge Wolf this week that he had become seriously stressed out. He writes to the team of public defenders, "You are a, quote, disgrace to the legal profession." He says you should be ashamed of yourselves. And he writes to the Chief Public Defender, "You will never step foot in my courtroom again." Chief Public Defender Fred Friedman has asked that Judge Wolf's conduct in the Blom case be examined by the State Board of Judicial Standards. Legal experts say his medical condition will be considered if they look into possible sanctions. Barbara Riles, News 6.
This is a procedure that we've done many times, is preparing the unit for maintenance like this. So this is a rare event.
It's game day. I might lift maybe a little bit. Pretty excited, man. Seriously, I am. Pump some iron. I'm hot already. I don't even feel it half the time because I'm already hurt. Seriously, I don't even know a flag went down sometimes. I get up there, I'm like, we're 15 yards closer. I didn't even know that happened. I couldn't sleep last night. Just wave your hands in the air and I'll try to find you.
I do.
You would like that.
Okay. I don't eat too much. Have a banana.
Are you guys gonna be at the?
I'll be there.
I will be there.
Good luck, Tim.
Thanks.
Senior number 2, Captain Tim.
At linebacker, junior number 44, Guy Rufflemeyer. On the play. Flag on the play.
Nice run, nice job.
Williams on the carry.
We just think it's a great cause because we employ mainly women, or we service mainly women, and so we're just really happy to do something for a great cause.
To give you an example, if you buy a program from Microsoft and it doesn't work, there's an 800 number on your program, on your software program. You call that number. Well, you're calling a company like Sykes to get your fixed and walk you through the problems you're having with your software program.
IRRB Program Director Phil Bakken says the company would locate in Progress Park, a new technology campus between Eveleth and Virginia on Highway 53. Another high-tech company, N526, is already a resident there, and local leaders say Sykes will be a perfect fit.
Well, it means that our young people will be able to stay here or come back here and raise their families here.
Virginia Mayor Carolyn Gentilini says this is a great opportunity for growth in her community.
The wonderful part about this is each person will be given the equivalent of $20,000 worth of training, which will bring them far into their futures.
The project came as a surprise to some members of the IRRB, who learned about the project in the same meeting they voted to give the company $3.5 million to bring Sykes to the range.
And it's difficult to give $3.5 million away when you've had absolutely no thought about it whatsoever and no information, and you've got to make a decision in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's extremely difficult for me.
Representative Tom Rukavina says it might be a good project, but he voted against it because he had too many unanswered questions.
I kept my promise, and even though it was in my own district, did not vote for it because of a policy that I've established here that if people aren't willing to come when they're getting free money and talk to us, that I'm not going to support the project, and that's what I voted for.
Where we're taking this and what... Nothing, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a whole lot of content. Meet with our housing people.
Accomplishing anything because we continue to lose.
Housing starts or haven't had any new housing starts.
$40,000 pickup. Because these Ely homes are not starter homes for our kids.
We live. There's a gap. In fact, it's state line.
To give you an example, if you buy a program from Microsoft and it doesn't work, there's an 800 number on your program, on your software program. You call that number. Well, you're calling a company like Sykes to get your fixed and walk you through the problems you're having with your software program.
To the front, to the back.
Has she returned home? Okay, have you heard from her at all?
The calls come in by the thousands here at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Do you have an address?
And Minnesota has its share. But 10 years ago, one abduction captured a community and transfixed the state.
Jacob Wetterling werd door een gewapende en gemaskerde man.
A kidnapping that has literally had global impact.
Of the more than 2,000 kids reported missing each day in the U.S., only a handful of those cases have ever touched us as much as Jacob Wetterling. Yet in all of those cases, those who feel the greatest impact are, of course, those who already know the child, the family, friends, and in Jacob's case, his peers.
Classmates like Scott Zimmer, who remembers feeling his whole world suddenly changing.
And I get home from school, and there it is on the news. Jacob Wetterling, your friend, got abducted last night. And I was just like, boom, you know, in your face.
As he watched Minnesota's largest ever manhunt for Jacob's abductor, Scott felt his own sense of security slip away.
It just made you question everybody. Sitting in the car while your mom ran in the store, you eye everybody. Is that him? Is that him? Could that be him? it's always on your mind.
We have a special guest today, Scott Zimmer.
Now a senior at St. John's, Scott volunteers to speak to kids about personal safety on behalf of the Jacob Wetterling Foundation.
Sometimes you have to yell.
He is not alone in his activism.
You could taste the fear.
Allison Fay fights that same feeling of helplessness.
It was an issue that I worried about for a long time, and now I'm starting to become less afraid and do things to make myself less afraid. So it's up to you to, stand up and say, okay, well, that's not accurate.
Allison is a senior at St. Olaf's, where she co-chairs the Sexual Assault Resource Network, enjoys theater, and has created her own unique degree program.
I'm Allison Fay, I'm a senior, and I'm a communication major, and I'm in the para-college with a senior concentration in responding to missing children. Jacob was not given that chance to speak up and say, this isn't fair, this shouldn't be happening to me. He wasn't given that chance, and I just feel like other people need to be stepping in and speaking that out for him. We're doing shot 2, but it's me talking.
That commitment to make what happened to Jacob something positive led Allison to create a public service announcement speaking directly to Jacob's abductor.
Remember us.
Spoken by Jacob's former classmates.
Remember us?
We're not going to forget you.
And it still affects me. I don't like to go out at night when it's dark out.
You took my friend 10 years ago.
I was defenseless then. It's like we were scared to go outside even when it happened.
I'm not going to give up.
Until I find you.
This is kind of a fun reunion. Do you guys see each other very often?
Patty Wetterling has watched all of them grow into young adults.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful watching these kids that were in Jacob's class, now they're 21, to go from a state of being victims as well and total fear and powerlessness, and all of a sudden it's shifting to a place of power and a statement. We are going to care. We will make a difference. We cannot tolerate victimization of children. You took our friend.
Remember us.
Jacob's classmates are reminders that he would now be 21. Pete Banks works with Patty at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
If this person who took Jacob took him to keep him, over these last 10 years, Jacob's personality, or at least the way he perceives the world, can be changed immensely.
Patty's response is, I know, but I had 11 and a half years to influence Jacob.
And if that's the way it is, we have to get him out of that. You have to extricate him from these horrible situations. You can't just leave him there because he's not the same kid.
She knows the chance of finding Jacob is remote, yet her search is relentless, and her attitude has now captured Jacob's generation.
When there's uncertainty, you have doubt and you have hope, and Patty chooses to hold on to hope. And that inspires me so much that I choose to do the same thing.
It looks good.
It's a choice Jacob's peers would argue is not at all naive.
In this isolated situation,
all this water on the July 4th and July 24th storms came into my sister's basement in a rage, not once, but 2, 3, and 4 times. We're standing there watching this fountain shoot up, and the debris going everywhere. Her possessions were swirling in her basement like a Disneyland cartoon.
Wausau, Wisconsin. The reason for this is that right now there's only one major line that connects the 2 states, and during periods of peak demand that line gets very heavily loaded.
In order to meet the increasing demands for more electrical power to the Midwest, Minnesota Power and Wisconsin Public Service have teamed up on a new project.
Right now we're in a position of trying to serve that economic growth with yesterday's electric system, and it's just not enough to do the job.
Power Up Wisconsin is a proposal to construct a 345 kilovolt transmission line, tripling the amount of electricity brought into Wisconsin. But not everyone agrees the extra power is necessary.
We have been told nothing that'll show a benefit to Douglas County, the town of Amnicon that I live in, or myself, which they're going to take 1.75 miles of right-of-way through my farm, which has been in our family since 1908.
Mark Liebert is one of dozens of Douglas County residents who urge board members to vote yes to the resolution.
There are people in this room that have been told their property would not be saleable if this transmission line was to go over it.
Market values for property in Douglas County. We're just starting to make some statutory improvements. Excuse me. I'm a little emotional about this issue.
Residents raise questions about what effects a new line would have on their health and their property values, and what they would get in return.
They'll pay me for the property even though I don't want to sell it, and I'll have the right to keep paying taxes on it for the rest of my life. And yet I won't have any use of that land.
And we'll make our best efforts to negotiate compensation for an easement. And in the past, anyway, on the projects that we've been involved with, we've been able to reach satisfactory agreements with most of the parties. And we look at eminent domain as a last resort, and hopefully we won't have to do that.
In the Twin Ports, Jody Grayson, News 6.
We were just coming down the hill. We were about halfway down. There was just a guy standing there.
The driving force was Jacob, and his voice I could still hear, and his eyes and his expectations. And that's what kept me going.
A Minneapolis judge and jury are gearing up for what could be a very tough and lengthy battle. Six-time convicted sex offender Donald Blum will be back in court on Monday, facing up to 45 years in prison. Blum is charged as a felon in possession of a firearm in a criminal complaint filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Search warrants show that investigators seized several guns and rounds of ammunition on Blum's Carleton County property while searching for evidence in the Katie Poyer kidnapping case. Blum says the guns don't belong to him, but neighbors say they've seen and heard Blum firing weapons many times.
Many times you could hear him shoot, and several times I see him carrying firearms out in the forest out there.
Oh, no, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It wasn't necessary, for one thing. Sure, it was his own property, and you're supposed to be able to do what you want on your property and that. But when you disturb the peace and other people and that's not right.
Blum was released from prison in 1992. According to the terms of his discharge, it would be illegal for him to ship, transport, possess, or receive a firearm until 10 years after he was released. Blum's federal attorney Rick Holmstrom had wanted the guns thrown out of evidence, and the case moved out of state.
I just think it's almost impossible to ask people who have been subjected to that kind of information and that kind of daily publicity to be fair and in fact, not only to be fair, but to presume Donald Blum innocent as every juror should do.
Both motions were rejected, but Holmstrom still says he has a good chance of winning.
It's a tough case. It'll be an uphill battle, but if I've got a neutral jury that can look on this case with an unbiased eye, I think we can get a verdict of not guilty on it.
Jody Grayson, News 6.
You know, we have a lot to offer from UMD, and a really critical thing is to connect up our great students and faculty with the community. If they know how to do something, or they can help solve problems, or they can provide services, well, why not? I mean, I think every
So the second graders get to go to
a violinist that was brought in from California who played electric partnership.
Well, the partnership is great, and we're glad to supply these kind.
I was supposed to get a television.
I don't like scary movies.
It's not scary.
It's not scary?
No.
Good thing I have these friends here to help me.
Hi, the bear. Did you try to call me?
You know, that tent over there, it kind of makes you nervous when you're sitting inside there and it's just, you know, shaking. And well, the fire department guys, they tied it down really nice, and it should be staying. We got all these ropes here to hold on to it, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. I know. Let's see, yes, huh?
Last year. Oh, okay.
That's fun. Yeah, she was just over there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sure. But they still have.
Yeah, I got them all. I have to walk when I.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, you know what?
Are you going to show us on the news?
Be able to work well with the current city council and with the Mayor Gary Doty.
Yeah.
What plans do you have once you take your seat in the city council?
Well, immediately, I think the Bayfront is the biggest issue that I'd like to tackle right away, and keeping green space east of Lafarge, and also creating a world-class festival park. That's always been my top priority, and as a city councilor, that's what I'd like to do. And more long-term, looking at economic development and trying to keep our young people in town.
$40,000 pickup, because these Ely homes are not starter homes for our kids.
Where we live, there's a gap. In fact, it's state line.
Hey! Hey, ground. All right.
Good job.
I told you you could do it.
Good job, man. Good job. We're
Thank
very
you.
proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Over
you.
$5,000. 5,174.
Well, we just got 65 more while he was coming down, too, so.
Way to go, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Right
Cool.
on. Let's bring you home.
Actually, snow would have been good.
This guy here shot.
Be cap-wise?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And this is Fisherman's Corner, obviously.
Been lots of fun. I think it's been a mixture of anything from spikes on up to about, I think the biggest we had there was about 10 points, you know. Nice steer, biggest about 208 pounds.
Go on and off, trying to find something.
We'd kind of scoped things out this fall, and there's been a lot of deer hanging around where we happen to hunt, so we were optimistic that we were going to probably see something opening day. So, and that's how it turned out.
And you did.
Early November 1991, the megastorm brought 30 inches of snow followed by a cold snap with record chills. Early November 1999, it's a whole nother ball game. Some thought it was warm while others thought it was just plain hot. People were out taking advantage of this day that felt more like early September than November.
I'm here because I knew that the weather will be so warm today, and I decided to come and go for a walk on the lakeside and enjoy the weather.
My husband's here for work, so we decided to come with for the nice day, and yeah, it was going to be nice out, so we thought we'd come and enjoy the lake and the weather and just be outside today. Very nice, warmer than I even thought.
It's a little bit odd to be wearing shorts in the first week of November.
Shorts and a tank top or a t-shirt, it's warm.
It feels kind of weird.
This is why it's nice in November, because you can still be sure of your footing. Pretty soon there's going to be snow and you're not so sure about what's under your feet or how the next step is going to land. But this is nice.
Pretty much makes it a lot less miserable when it's nice and warm out. It feels nice.
Hot. Hot. So, does today's record heat mean that we're going to have a record late snowfall? Not necessarily, and I really do doubt it. That honor does go to the 1930-31 winter season, where we did not receive an inch of snow in Duluth until January 21st of 1931. How about that? From Duluth, this is meteorologist Keith Marler for News 6.
High-quality patient care is a top priority in the Midwest, and this will continue into the year 2000. But there are some things you can do to help it along. Most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions. In most cases, you can monitor your healthcare provider's Y2K readiness efforts through newsletters, the media, and direct contact. But to avoid any anxiety, the Consumer Protection Bureau says try to schedule any elective surgery before the end of December or after February 1st. With the growing home healthcare industry, there may be some concerns with home medical devices. Be sure to ask your provider or contact the manufacturer to see if specific medical devices need debugging. As for your prescriptions, check with your pharmacist about your local drugstore's Y2K readiness and add a few extra weeks of pills to your supply before the year changes. But the experts warn, do not hoard. It could lead to spot shortages that could mean real trouble. And regarding health insurance, as always, keep paper records of all billing information and insurance documents. The Department of Trade and Consumer Protection says there will be no disruption of local 911 emergency service, so that's one less thing to worry about.
It was a busy day for Ricky McManus. She markets the Northland to filmmakers, and today she got some good news. Another feature-length motion picture is on the way. It's a suspenseful thriller called Claws, and there are 2 more films still in the works for the area. It's positive news for the Northland.
I'm sure that there will be local people hired when a production like this comes into town. It makes more sense for them, it's cost-effective, and it puts our people to work.
Scouting locations, the producer and director are impressed with what they see at Duluth's Graceland Plaza Ballroom. They want this film to have a 1950s look.
This is a nice room.
It's beautiful.
We had other cities and states on consideration, but at this point it's ridiculous to even pursue them.
Film producer Douglas Nesbitt says he's seen many locations, but Glensheen Mansion has stolen his heart.
We needed a large mansion-type structure that had a sweeping driveway and a nice background. Well, here's a lake and there's a sweeping driveway and there's a beautiful building, so it was pretty simple. It was a no-brainer.
Touring the Glensheen grounds, director Mark Witherspoon Cross hopes a snowy Duluth mansion will make his script come to life. He's taking test shots of the setting.
Last Christmas, I actually wrote the script over 12 days, the 12 days before Christmas.
The film crew plans to hire on some locals in a variety of positions. They're not saying who'll star in the film yet, but the director says some good names are signing on. As far as what to expect from this movie,
preview of the film, it's a Stephen King Christmas story with an Exorcist twist.
Duluth's Ricky McManus is now bracing for what could be a busy year 2000. And here's a heads up, more filmmakers choosing the Northland could mean a job for you in the middle of the action. In Duluth, Jason Rice, News 6.
A few nails, some liquid glue, and a strong imagination is all this crew needs to build a float.
Suzanne, I'm out of staples.
Taking part in the parade has become an annual event for workers at Duluth's Harley-Davidson Sports Center, one they look forward to doing each year.
It's really fun to see the reactions we get when we go down the street, too, because everybody loves our float.
And John's turned into a wonderful carpenter.
The shop has turned into a construction zone, and mechanics take a break from the bikes to help put things together.
And the guys are so nice letting us have their workspace.
Everyone pitches in, but Suzanne gets most of the credit.
She's the mastermind behind getting all this built and making it look like something.
No, they come from everybody. Everyone contributes to it.
Power tools definitely come in handy, especially when cutting hundreds of feet of wood and attaching thousands of feet of lights.
Normally we just would wrap them around the garland, you know, so it wasn't such a big deal, but this is a little bit more complicated. So.
Many lights. We're trying to go for 10,000 lights. I've already got 3 generators.
You have to use sunglasses to see this float.
And what would a Harley float be without a Harley?
And I don't know how many times people tell us, start them up, because they love to hear them. So this year we're going to accommodate them and get one of them going.
Each year the float gets bigger and better. As for this year's main attraction...
Oh, we can't tell you, that's a secret.
But we do know there'll be a smoke show, a Santa hog, and even some live action.
Well, there'll be a little bit of live action on the float. It won't be just a still float. There'll be a little bit of movement. I'll tell you that much.
And the crew guarantees we'll all be pleasantly surprised with the final display. In Duluth, Jody Grayson, News 6.